Hi, everyone. Welcome to English Story School, where we will learn English through an inspiring stories. Our goal is simple: to help you improve your English skills while enjoying a fascinating tale about a remarkable person. Today, we'll explore the story of Steve Jobs, the visionary behind Apple. His journey is filled with lessons about perseverance, creativity, and innovation. By listening to this story, you'll not only learn about his life, but also pick up useful vocabulary and expressions in context. So, sit back, relax, and let's begin. Imagine this: a young boy, curious about the world, growing up in a modest home. His father is a mechanic, teaching him how to tinker with gadgets. This boy isn't extraordinary yet, but what sets him apart is his hunger for learning and an imagination that knows no bounds. That boy is Steve Jobs. Steve's story isn't just about technology. It's about dreaming big and turning those dreams into reality. But how did he do it? Let's dive into his journey. We guide you step by step through Steve's life. Start with his childhood. A kid adopted into a loving family, growing up in Mountain View, California. Talk about how his father's hands-on skills with machines sparked his curiosity. Then, weave the story of his restless energy in school. He wasn't a perfect student, far from it. He was often bored, questioning the system, and looking for something more. But this restlessness, it would fuel his future. Steve dropped out of college, but instead of giving up, he followed his instincts. Imagine him sitting in calligraphy classes at Reed College, marveling at how elegant typography could transform communication. That knowledge, it later defined Apple's design philosophy. What if you had dropped out of college? Would you have the courage to keep chasing your passions like Steve did? Now shift to his garage, where Steve and his friend Steve Wozniak began tinkering with electronics. Picture them excitedly building the first Apple computer, unsure if anyone would buy it. But their persistence paid off. The Apple I wasn't perfect, but it was revolutionary for its time. Think small, people told them. But Steve Jobs wasn't about thinking small. He was about thinking different. Steve was persistent, meaning he never gave up. When Apple succeeded, it became a household name, something everyone knew. With success comes challenges. Steve's bold personality led to conflicts at Apple, and in 1985, he was ousted from the company he built. Can you imagine how devastating that must have been? But instead of breaking him, it pushed him forward. We'll close this outline by leaving the audience curious. What happened next? How did Steve Jobs turn his biggest setback into the greatest comeback in business history? Stay tuned to find out. Steve Jobs was born on February 24th, 1955, in San Francisco, California. His biological parents, Abdul Fattah Jandali and Joan Schiebel, made the difficult decision to give him up for adoption. Little did they know, this child would grow up to change the world. He was adopted by Paul and Clara Jobs, a middle-class couple who gave Steve a stable, loving home in Mountain View, California. Paul, a mechanic, introduced Steve to the world of electronics and machinery. Imagine little Steve, curious and full of questions, watching his father repair machines in their garage. These early moments planted the seeds of his lifelong fascination with technology. Steve wasn't your typical student. While his teachers saw potential in him, he often found school boring and restrictive. Can you relate to feeling like the system doesn't match your creativity? That's exactly how Steve felt. Despite his restlessness, his curiosity never waned. He explored hobbies, tinkered with gadgets, and questioned everything. It was this innate curiosity that set him apart. Steve believed that learning wasn't limited to the classroom. It was everywhere. As a teenager, Steve Jobs developed a passion for electronics. He spent hours in the garage experimenting with circuits and gadgets. It was during this time that he met Steve Wozniak, an older boy who shared his love for technology. Picture two teenagers huddled over a circuit board, dreaming of building something extraordinary. Their bond was instant and would later become the foundation of Apple. Paul and Clara Jobs weren't rich, but they instilled in Steve the values of hard work and perseverance. Paul taught him how to take apart and rebuild machines, a skill that would later translate into Steve's obsession with detail and design. But Steve's rebellious nature sometimes caused tension at home. He wasn't afraid to question authority, even when it came to his parents. This defiance wasn't a flaw. It was a sign of his relentless drive to understand the world on his terms. After high school, Steve enrolled at Reed College in Portland, Oregon. But college life didn't suit him either. He dropped out after just one semester. Yet, Steve didn't see this as a failure. Instead, he stayed on campus, auditing classes that interested him. One of those classes was calligraphy. Imagine Steve sitting in a lecture, fascinated by the elegance of fonts and typography. At the time, it seemed like a random interest. But years later, this knowledge would shape the design of the Macintosh computer, making it the first personal computer with beautiful, proportionally spaced fonts. After leaving college, Steve Jobs traveled to India in search of spiritual enlightenment. He immersed himself in Eastern philosophies, learned about mindfulness, and practiced meditation. This journey taught him the importance of simplicity, a lesson that became central to his design philosophy at Apple. Steve returned to California with a new perspective on life. His experiences in India shaped his creative vision, helping him see beauty in simplicity and harmony in design. Back in California, Steve Jobs reconnected with Steve Wozniak. The two friends began working on a project in Steve's parents' garage. They wanted to build a personal computer that was affordable and accessible to everyone. Imagine the smell of solder and the sound of tools clinking as they worked late into the night. They called their creation the Apple I. It was a basic computer, but it was the first step toward revolutionizing the tech industry. Steve's early life laid the foundation for his future success. From tinkering with gadgets to exploring spirituality, every experience shaped his vision. His childhood wasn't about comfort or predictability. It was about questioning, exploring, and daring to dream. The lessons from his early years stayed with him. 1. Curiosity fuels innovation. Never stop asking why. 2. Passion drives success. Love what you do, even when it's challenging. 3. Simplicity is powerful. The simplest ideas often have the most profound impact. Steve Jobs' early life was a mix of rebellion, curiosity, and ambition. These qualities didn't just define his personality. They became the driving force behind everything he achieved. After dropping out of Reed College, Steve Jobs returned to California. While many would see this as a setback, Steve didn't. Instead, he explored new interests, including calligraphy, Eastern spirituality, and counterculture movements. These experiences shaped his unique outlook on life and innovation. Steve wasn't just drifting, he was absorbing. He learned about simplicity, elegance, and focus, which would later become the core principles of Apple's design philosophy. Imagine a young man with no clear path but a burning curiosity, finding inspiration in the unlikeliest places. In 1976, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak founded Apple Computer in Steve's parents' garage. Their mission? To create a personal computer that was affordable and user-friendly. The Apple I was their first product, a simple circuit board sold to hobbyists. It wasn't flashy, but it worked. The real breakthrough came with the Apple II, launched in 1977. It was one of the first computers designed for everyday people, not just engineers. With its intuitive interface and sleek design, the Apple II became a massive success, turning Apple into a household name. By his early 20s, Steve Jobs was a millionaire. But more than money, he had something else, a vision. Steve believed technology should be beautiful, simple, and accessible. He wasn't just selling products, he was selling a new way of thinking. As Apple grew, so did Steve's ambition. He pushed his team relentlessly, demanding perfection at every turn. This intensity, while driving innovation, also created friction. Steve was brilliant but difficult, qualities that didn't always sit well with colleagues and board members. In 1984, Steve introduced the Macintosh. It was the first personal computer with a graphical user interface and a mouse. The Mac was groundbreaking, but its launch wasn't without challenges. Despite its innovation, it faced criticism for being expensive and limited in compatibility. Yet it set the stage for future breakthroughs in personal computing. But behind the scenes, tensions at Apple were escalating. Steve's bold ideas clashed with the more conservative corporate culture. In 1985, after a power struggle, Steve was forced to resign from the company he co-founded. It was a devastating blow. Steve Jobs didn't sulk or give up. Instead, he founded Next, a company focused on high-end computers for education and businesses. While Next didn't achieve massive commercial success, it introduced innovations like the Next Step operating system, which later became the foundation for Mac OS. During this time, Steve also acquired Pixar, an animation studio struggling to find its footing. Under his leadership, Pixar transformed into a powerhouse, producing Toy Story in 1995, the first fully computer-animated film. The success of Pixar not only revolutionized animation, but also solidified Steve's reputation as a visionary leader. Meanwhile, Apple was in trouble. By the mid-1990s, the company was nearing bankruptcy. In 1997, Apple's board brought Steve Jobs back as CEO. His return marked the beginning of a new era for the company. Steve's first move was to simplify Apple's product line. He focused on creating fewer but better products. In 1998, Apple launched the iMac, a colorful all-in-one computer that became an instant hit. The iMac wasn't just a computer, it was a statement. Its bold design and user-friendly features redefined what technology could be. Steve Jobs didn't stop there. In 2001, he introduced the iPod, a portable music player that could hold thousands of songs. The iPod wasn't the first MP3 player, but it was the best. It was sleek, intuitive, and came with the iTunes Store, which revolutionized how people bought and listened to music. The biggest turning point came in 2007 with the launch of the iPhone. This wasn't just a phone. It was a music player, a web browser, and a revolutionary device all in one. The iPhone changed everything. It set the standard for smartphones and redefined how we communicate. Lessons from key events. 1. Innovation requires risk. From the Apple II to the iPhone, Steve wasn't afraid to take bold risks. 2. Simplicity wins. Whether it was the design of the iMac or the interface of the iPod, Steve believed that less is more. 3. Failure is a stepping stone. Being ousted from Apple could have ended Steve's career, but he used it as an opportunity to grow. These key events weren't just milestones. They were lessons in persistence, creativity, and vision. Steve's journey from a garage in California to leading one of the world's most influential companies is proof that innovation is about seeing possibilities where others see obstacles. The turning point in Steve Jobs' career came in 2007 with the launch of the iPhone. This wasn't just another product, it was a technological revolution. Imagine the scene: Steve Jobs on stage, holding up a sleek, black device that combined a phone, a music player, and an internet browser into one. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator, he declared. Are you getting it? These are not three separate devices. This is one device, and we are calling it the iPhone. The audience erupted in applause. For them and the world, it was a glimpse into the future. The iPhone wasn't the first smartphone, but it was the first to truly merge technology with design and usability. 1. Touchscreen interface. It ditched the physical keyboard in favor of a sleek, responsive touchscreen. 2. App ecosystem. The iPhone introduced a world where apps became essential tools for daily life. 3. Elegant design. True to Steve's philosophy, the iPhone was simple yet powerful, making it accessible to everyone. This wasn't just a phone. It was a tool for the modern era, connecting people, entertainment, and work in ways that had never been possible. Behind the scenes, the road to the iPhone wasn't easy. Steve's obsession with perfection pushed his team to their limits. He demanded seamless integration between hardware and software. It has to just work, he said. Every detail mattered, from the placement of the buttons to the way the screen lit up. Delays, arguments, and sleepless nights were part of the process, but Steve never compromised. This drive for excellence paid off. The iPhone wasn't just a product. It was a masterpiece of engineering and design. The iPhone's launch was more than a commercial success. It became a cultural phenomenon. People camped outside stores for days to be the first to own one. Within months, it was clear that the iPhone wasn't just changing the phone industry. It was redefining communication, entertainment, and productivity. Think about it. How often do we use our phones today? Steve Jobs had envisioned a world where this device would become an extension of ourselves, and he made it a reality. Amid this success, Steve was fighting his own battles. In 2004, 3 years before the iPhone launch, he was diagnosed with a rare form of pancreatic cancer. Despite his illness, Steve continued to lead Apple with the same intensity and vision. He underwent surgeries and treatments, but rarely let his health affect his work. For Steve, the iPhone wasn't just another product. It was a legacy. He wanted to leave behind something that would change the world forever. The iPhone didn't just succeed. It redefined entire industries. 1. Technology. It set the standard for modern smartphones. 2. Entertainment. It revolutionized how we consume music, movies, and games. 3. Commerce. It created a platform for businesses, from app developers to online retailers. The iPhone wasn't just a phone. It was a symbol of innovation and possibility. Steve Jobs' journey to the iPhone's launch teaches us. 1. Vision is everything. Steve saw what others couldn't, a world transformed by technology. 2. Persistence pays off. The iPhone wasn't built overnight. It was the result of relentless effort and belief in the impossible. 3. Legacy over everything. For Steve, it wasn't about profits. It was about creating something that would outlive him. On October 5, 2011, Steve Jobs passed away at the age of 56 after a long battle with pancreatic cancer. The world lost not just a CEO or an entrepreneur, but a visionary who had fundamentally reshaped technology, business, and culture. His death was mourned globally, with tributes pouring in from presidents, CEOs, and millions of fans whose lives he had touched. But Steve's story didn't end there. His legacy lives on in the products we use, the industries he revolutionized, and the lessons he left behind. Steve Jobs wasn't just an inventor. He was a creator of ecosystems. 1. Apple products. The iPhone, iPad, Mac, and Apple Watch continue to define their categories, setting benchmarks for competitors. 2. Pixar's revolution. Under Steve's leadership, Pixar became the most successful animation studio in the world, starting with Toy Story and continuing with films that have become timeless classics. 3. The app economy. By introducing the App Store, Steve Jobs didn't just create a marketplace. He empowered millions of developers and businesses, laying the foundation for the digital economy. Steve's impact went far beyond products. His philosophy shaped how companies think about innovation and user experience. Simplicity is key. Steve believed in removing the unnecessary to focus on the essence of a product. This approach is still central to Apple's design ethos, marrying art and technology. He once said, "Technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with liberal arts and the humanities that makes our hearts sing. Customer experience above all. Steve didn't just build devices. He created experiences. From unboxing a product to using it, every moment was meticulously designed to delight the user. Steve's life inspired millions to think differently. Entrepreneurs, students, and dreamers worldwide looked up to him as proof that vision, hard work, and resilience could achieve the impossible. His famous Stanford commencement speech, where he urged students to stay hungry, stay foolish, became a rallying cry for innovation and ambition. For every struggling entrepreneur, Steve's comeback story, from being ousted from Apple to returning and transforming it into the world's most valuable company, remains a beacon of hope. Steve Jobs wasn't perfect, and he didn't shy away from that fact. He was often criticized for being demanding, even ruthless, with his employees. His pursuit of perfection sometimes came at the cost of personal relationships. Yet this intensity was also what fueled his success. As Steve himself admitted, "My job is to make the whole team, including myself, better." His legacy reminds us that greatness often comes with complexity, and flaws don't diminish impact, they humanize it. Even after his death, Steve Jobs' vision continues to drive Apple and influence industries worldwide. Apple's continued success. Products like the Apple Watch and AirPods carry forward his commitment to innovation. Cultural shifts. Steve's focus on user-centric design has influenced companies far beyond tech, from healthcare to automotive industries. His name in history. Museums, books, and films immortalize his story, ensuring that future generations will learn about the man who dared to think differently. 1. Dream big, act bold. Steve's life is proof that you don't need to follow a conventional path to achieve greatness. 2. Embrace failure. Being fired from Apple wasn't the end for Steve. It was a new beginning. 3. Focus on the user. His relentless focus on creating products that delighted users is a lesson for businesses everywhere. 4. Leave a mark. Steve didn't just build products. He built a legacy that inspires millions to strive for excellence. Steve Jobs wasn't just a man. He was an idea. His belief in the power of innovation, creativity, and resilience has become a part of our collective consciousness. As we use our phones, watch movies, or connect with loved ones, we are reminded of his impact. Steve's story teaches us that true legacy isn't about wealth or accolades. It's about changing lives and inspiring others to dream bigger. Steve Jobs' life was anything but ordinary. From a college dropout to one of the most influential figures in modern history, his journey is packed with lessons that resonate far beyond technology. Let's reflect on what his story teaches us about success, failure, and the power of vision. Lesson 1. Success doesn't happen overnight. Steve Jobs wasn't an instant success. It took years of hard work, perseverance, and learning from failures to build the empire we know today. Imagine the countless nights spent in his parents' garage, building the Apple I with Steve Wozniak. It was far from glamorous, but Steve knew that greatness starts small. Even when Apple became successful, Steve didn't rest. He continuously pushed boundaries, launching revolutionary products like the iPod and iPhone. His life reminds us that success isn't a destination. It's a journey that requires constant effort and innovation. Lesson 2. Failure is a stepping stone. One of the most striking parts of Steve's story is his ousting from Apple in 1985. Being forced out of the company he created could have ended his career, but Steve didn't let it. Instead, he used it as an opportunity to grow. During his time away from Apple, he founded Next, a company that laid the groundwork for future innovations. He also turned Pixar into a global animation powerhouse, proving that failure isn't the end, it's a new beginning. When life knocks you down, Steve's story shows that you have two choices: stay down, or rise stronger. He chose the latter. Lesson 3. Vision is everything. Steve Jobs wasn't just about making products. He was about creating experiences. Whether it was the Macintosh, the iPhone, or the App Store, everything he built was designed with the user in mind. He famously said, "Design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works." This philosophy drove him to create products that weren't just functional, but intuitive and beautiful. Steve's vision wasn't limited to what was possible. It extended to what could be. Lesson 4. Passion fuels greatness. Steve's relentless passion for technology and design was the driving force behind his success. He didn't just work, he lived and breathed his vision. His passion was contagious, inspiring those around him to aim higher and think bigger. He once said, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do." This wasn't just advice. It was the core of his philosophy. Steve's story teaches us that passion isn't optional. It's essential. Lesson 5. Stay hungry, stay foolish. In his iconic Stanford commencement speech, Steve urged students to stay hungry, stay foolish. This simple yet profound message encapsulates his approach to life. Never settle. Always remain curious. Take risks. These words remind us to keep exploring, learning, and pushing ourselves, even when the odds seem stacked against us. It's a mantra that applies to anyone, whether you're building a tech empire or pursuing a personal dream. Even though Steve Jobs is no longer with us, his legacy continues to shape the world. Every time you pick up an iPhone, watch a Pixar movie, or use an app on your smartphone, you're experiencing the ripple effects of his vision. Steve's influence isn't just about technology. It's about how we think, create, and connect. He proved that one person with a bold vision and relentless determination can change the world. What makes Steve Jobs' story so inspiring isn't just his achievements. It's his resilience, his curiosity, and his ability to turn challenges into opportunities. He didn't let setbacks define him. Instead, he used them as fuel to reach even greater heights. Steve's life is a testament to the power of believing in yourself, even when others doubt you. It's a reminder that true greatness isn't about being perfect. It's about being passionate, persistent, and unafraid to take risks. So, what's the takeaway for us? Steve Jobs' story isn't just for tech enthusiasts or entrepreneurs. It's for anyone who dares to dream. Whether you're building a business, learning a new skill, or simply trying to find your path, his journey offers valuable lessons. Remember, success takes time. Be patient and keep pushing. Failure is not the end. Learn from it and move forward. Passion and vision are your greatest tools. Use them wisely. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the incredible story of Steve Jobs. I hope it has inspired you to chase your dreams and believe in your potential. If Steve's life teaches us anything, it's that the possibilities are endless when you think differently and act boldly. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs a little inspiration. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. Together, let's continue to learn, grow, and dream big. See you in the next video.